It's the Tony Tone Show on Vintage Sound 93.1 FM from the Unity Point Health Studios. Happy Friday. The weekend is here. And on the MockLink TV and Internet Celebrity Hotline, the singer of the song American More. He has quite the honor that was just handed out by the Library of Congress. We'll talk all about that, but let's grab him right now. Don McLean, hello.
Hi there.
Welcome to the great state of Iowa. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm just fine, thank you. I'm sitting here in my office in the great state of Maine. So we're both in rural states.
Absolutely. We are, as a matter of fact, we're about 3 hours and 20 minutes from Clear Lake, Iowa. So not too far.
Right. I sang there once, actually.
Oh, sorry. I just knocked something over. I was going to ask if you had made it to Clear Lake. I imagine that was probably an emotional experience, huh?
One time I sang there, and I wrote about it actually in a book a biography called Killing Us Softly with His Songs by Alan Howard. I wrote about that, what it was like to do that, and how strange a place the Surf Ballroom is, in the middle of, cornfields with sub-zero weather. And they have all these little tables with people in grass skirts and stuff.
I was going to say, I've been there, and it is definitely... Clear Lake is just an interesting place. Like, one of my friend's brothers got married not too far from Clear Lake in Manchester, Iowa, but the rehearsal dinner was there, and we went out to the site where the crash happened, and it's just... it's an interesting town, and that site is very... it's still, like, very hallowed grounds, you know what I mean? Like, all these years later, people still... I just had a Facebook friend of mine yesterday that was passing through, and he took a picture of the memorial they have there. So it's still so relevant for people,
Well, Buddy Holly is the reason why, to some large degree. And, when you think about a 22-year-old guy who recorded 60 sides, and every one of them were hits, and he wrote all the songs, and he also, in the original Crickets, the sound was the sound really that the Rolling Stones and a lot of the English groups picked up on.
Sure.
Because, I love the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and those groups, but they basically gave us our music back. We created rock and roll, and we created all this stuff out of the West and the South and all the different parts of our country. And, I think after the Kennedy assassination, the country was in such dire need of a change of some sort. Those who are fabulously talented songwriters gained an enormous traction in the United States and brought with them a lot of other very talented English artists. But, if you look back in the 1950s, basically you had, skiffle music and Tommy Steele, and there's nothing wrong with those people, but they didn't have the rock and roll that they started to create later on. And that was, really because of us. And we kind of got derailed, I think, a little by the assassination. So, the idea that so Buddy Holly really is somebody whose music, the other day, even after all these years, and I hadn't listened to him in a while, I put on my favorite album of his. One is the Buddy Holly Story, and one is the Chirping Crickets. And I listened to that again, and that old feeling started to come back to me. That old feeling, that magic of his music and the sadness that comes sort of with it. And it's just, right out of the middle, right out of Texas. Funny thing about how Texas has produced a lot of artists, Roy Orbison and Bud and many others. So it's a very musical state.
Don, when American Pie comes out in 71 and it has that run on the charts in 72, it's not a short song. So I wonder, it's sort of a story within a song. I mean, it's over 8 minutes long, and Did you anticipate, because I don't know what radio stations were like back then, but it seems like playing a song of that length, some of them may have been scared, but then it just kind of took off. At the time when you're recording it and getting it out into the world, did you think that people and radio stations would respond to it? Because, we still play it today in its entirety. I've never heard of a shortened version of it. But when that started to snowball in 71 and 72, did it surprise you that it was so well received kind of across the board?
It was a phenomenon right away.
Mm-hmm.
It was a phenomenon. I've never, and I guess in some sense I was a phenomenon because, I'd written it and sang it, and so there I was riding this pretty fast train, and but it was different from, I've had other hit records,
mm-hmm.
but I've never experienced anything like that. It was not normal, and people immediately knew, even without buying the album, seeing that I had dedicated the album to Buddy Holly.
Mm-hmm.
Without knowing, they knew already that the first part of the song was about the death of Buddy Holly, and they knew it right away and I never talked about the lyrics of that song. There are people out there that were road managed me and were in management offices when I was young, and they'll say, he was hanging out and he told us all about the song. That never happened. I never talked about the lyrics of that song. And the reason was that I wanted it to be sort of a dream. I wanted to do with words what the Beatles did with music in the day in the life. So I wanted it to be a surreal, almost a drug experience about America, and not your normal big song about America with, this land is your land and all that.
Sure.
But I did this for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't ever think that I was going to be a star or a record star or a concert attraction or any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been, 50 years of drawing audience at your concert hall on the earth, just about, that I've been doing this, but I never dreamed of it. I thought of, just doing my best work and maybe, making enough money to make a living.
Sure.
And pay for a little house somewhere maybe, or, get a roof over my head and be able to call it my own. That was pretty much my goal.
Don, my last question is, because we're running out of time, unfortunately, when you get the phone call or the email about the 2016 National Recording Registry for that song, American Pie, being included alongside Over the Rainbow and David Bowie's The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars and Richard Pryor's Wanted live in concert, what's the emotion like? And because this song, again, like you just spoke about it, when it first came to be, and here we are 50 years later, and it gets put into something like that. How did you get the news, and what was your initial reaction?
I got the news from my publicist in Nashville. He got the news from my agent in California, and it's just a beautiful thing to be recognized and validated. I'm happy. I tell people, I know a lot of people who've become statues.
Right.
I knew the real people, and now there they are, frozen. It's like a Twilight Zone. So, I guess I'm moving toward becoming a statue of some sort. But, that's the thought. That's the songwriter in me. That's the kind of thought that it can go, isn't this fantastic? I think it's something like that.
Well, Don, listen, I want to thank you for the time. I know you have to do a whole bunch of other interviews. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and please come and see us again in the state of Iowa, okay?
I would love to, and I love the state of Iowa, and I enjoy being on your show.
Have a great weekend. Happy Easter, Don. Thank you so much.